Avery Sinclair was 28 when she realized her life had become a perfectly negotiated transaction. 2 years ago, she stood in a notary office in Midtown and signed a marriage contract with Damien Sterling, New York's most ruthless billionaire CEO. 30 years old, 6'3", eyes the color of winter oceans. A man who could buy half the city before breakfast and still have change for a private island. The terms were simple. He needed a wife on paper to shut up the old money board members who thought a bachelor couldn't run a dynasty. She needed a last name strong enough to keep her toxic father from ever using her as a bargaining chip again. 2 years. No sex. Separate bedrooms. Divorce with a 7-figure settlement each. They shook hands like business partners and went their separate ways. Next month the contract ended. Avery had already picked the navy suit she'd wear to sign the papers in his 72nd floor penthouse overlooking Central Park. Clean. Emotionless. Perfect. Then the phone call came at 2:17 a.m. "Mrs. Sterling, your husband was in an accident. The Maybach hit a tree on the sawmill. He's stable, but there's amnesia." She ran barefoot through Lenox Hill Hospital corridors in silk pajamas, hair wild, heart in her throat. The man in the bed turned when she burst in. Thin white hospital shirt. Collarbone sharp enough to cut glass. Cheeks flushed pink. Eyes huge, shimmering, 18 again. He sat up slowly, clutched the sheet to his chest like a shy teenager, and whispered, "Senior, I'm here to fulfill my husbandly duties." His voice cracked on the last word. Avery's knees buckled. Damien Sterling, the man who once made grown CEOs cry in boardrooms, was looking at her like she hung the moon, lips trembling, waiting for permission to breathe. "She's mine. 10 years I waited. 10 years I burned. And now she's my wife and she's standing right here, and I still don't know how to touch her without breaking." They discharged him 3 days later. The drive back to the penthouse was torture. Damien sat in the passenger seat of the Maybach, fingers twisting the seatbelt, stealing glances at her profile every 3 seconds. "You're really my wife?" he asked for the 100th time. 2 years, she answered automatically. He let out a shaky breath that sounded like prayer. The elevator opened straight into the apartment, 12,000 square feet of black marble, floor-to-ceiling windows. A 60-bottle wine fridge that cost more than most people's houses. Avery sat on one end of the charcoal sectional. Damien sat on the opposite end, knees drawn up, looking impossibly young. The silence stretched. She took pity. "You can ask me anything." He stood so fast he swayed. "Anything? Anything." He paced, raked a hand through his dark hair, then blurted, "How did I win you? Was I cool? Did I take you on the private jet? Did I buy you Cartier on the first date? God, please tell me I wasn't a loser." Avery's lips twitched. "You were very persuasive." His whole face lit up. "I knew it. I'm gonna be the best husband. The absolute best. You'll never want to leave me. Touch her and die. Look at her wrong and I'll bury you under this building. She's been mine since the day she wore that white uniform shirt in senior year, and I couldn't breathe." That night she found him standing outside her bedroom door in nothing but low-slung gray sweatpants, barefoot, arms full of pillows. I can't sleep alone," he mumbled, ears scarlet. "I just need to know you're real. Please, baby girl." She should have said no. She stepped aside. He slid into her bed like he was scared the mattress would bite him. Stayed on his side, hands clenched into fists so he wouldn't accidentally touch her. 5 minutes later, he was wrapped around her like ivy, face buried in her neck, breathing her in like oxygen. "Good girl," he whispered when she finally relaxed. "My good girl." She was doomed. The next morning, his assistant John nearly had a heart attack. "Emergency acquisition meeting. Only Mr. Sterling can sign. The board is circling like sharks." Avery drove. Damien sat beside her, clutching the door handle, sneaking glances every 2 seconds. At Sterling Enterprises headquarters, the entire 58th floor froze when they walked in hand. No one had ever seen Damien Sterling's wife. Now she was here, and their terrifying CEO was blushing because she squeezed his fingers for courage. He pulled out her chair. He poured her water with shaking hands. When a senior VP stared at her legs too long, Damien leaned over and said, voice velvet and venom, look again and I'll have you counting blades of grass in Antarctica. Mine. Every inch. Every breath. Every future heartbeat. That night he crawled into her bed again. This time he didn't ask. He just curved around her from behind, arm locked over her waist, palm spread possessively over her stomach. Tell me to leave and I will, he murmured against her nape. She didn't. His lips brushed the shell of her ear. You're mine, little wife. Contract or no contract. The words sent fire straight through her veins. She's mine to ruin, mine to worship, mine to put my baby in until the whole world knows exactly who she belongs to. Days blurred. He followed her around the penthouse like a lost puppy, making her coffee exactly the way she liked it. He'd apparently memorized it 10 years ago. Leaving jasmine flowers on her pillow every night. Blushing crimson when she walked out of the shower in nothing but a towel. But the old Damien bled through in flashes. The book in his study on the crowd, spine cracked, pages annotated in furious black ink. Between pages 142 and 143, their high school graduation photo. Her face circled in red. On the back, in his handwriting, wait for me. I'll be good enough one day. Another night she found a box hidden in his walk-in closet. Her university acceptance letter, the original, not her copy. A pressed jasmine petal. 2 plane tickets to Florence dated 10 years ago that were never used. A tiny velvet box containing a 7-carat Cartier diamond solitaire he'd apparently bought at 22 and never dared give her. She sat on the closet floor and cried. He found her there at 3 a.m., knelt instantly. I was going to propose properly, he whispered, voice cracking. After I became someone you could be proud of. I was too late. She tackled him to the carpet, kissed him until neither of them could breathe. The Tuscany trip was his parents' idea. Take the jet. Take the villa. Heel, his mother said, hugging Avery so tight her ribs creaked. That boy has loved you since he was too small to know what love was. The estate was ridiculous 16th century stone, infinity pool floating over vineyards, a bedroom with a bed big enough for orgies, and a fireplace you could roast an ox in. Second night, moonlight poured through the open French doors. Damien backed her against the 500-year-old desk, hands sliding under her silk camisole, mouth hot on her throat. Tell me to stop, he growled, fingers already ripping the delicate straps. Last chance, baby girl. She arched into him instead. He lifted her onto the desk, shoved her thighs apart, tore the lace panties clean off. Punishment in every bite along her collarbone. Reward in the way he dropped to his knees and worshipped her until she sobbed his name into the Tuscan night. Later, in the red room of the villa, because of course there was a red room, he tied her wrists with silk ropes the color of blood, kissed every inch of skin he exposed, and made her come apart so many times she forgot her own name. Say it, he demanded, voice raw, moving inside her slow and deep and relentless. I'm yours, she gasped. I was always yours. Mine. 10 years of restraint. 10 years of dreaming. And now she's finally mine. Back in New York, the contract expiration date arrived. Damien waited in the penthouse wearing the same thin white shirt from the hospital, top buttons undone, looking like every dark fantasy she never admitted to having. He held the contract up between 2 fingers. 2 years ago you signed this because you didn't believe in love, he said quietly. Today I'm tearing it up because I've never believed in anything else. He ripped it once. Twice. Let the pieces snow onto the marble. Then he dropped to one knee, pulled out the 10-year-old Cartier solitaire, and slid it onto her finger where it had always belonged. Marry me again, Avery Sinclair. For real this time. No expiration date. No escape clauses. Just you and me until we're old and gray and still annoying each other in this ridiculous penthouse. She tackled him to the floor, kissed him until they were both laughing and crying. Yes, she whispered against his mouth. 1,000 times yes. He carried her to the red room, laid her on black silk sheets, and spent the entire night proving exactly how possessive, obsessive, and completely in love Damien Sterling had always been. You're mine, little wife. You always were. and I'm never, ever letting you go.